All right, welcome everybody. Happy Thursday. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Welcome to the Build a Better Back virtual workshop. My name is Dr. Eric Wallace, and I am CEO here at Modus RX Physical Therapy. I'm going to just give a minute or two for anybody else who registered or anybody else who is interested to hop on here. And I want to start off just by saying thank you so much. It's a beautiful night here in Wisconsin in the Fox Valley. I know that nights like these we should not certainly take for granted. So when you schedule these things, you're always wondering what's the great time, what's the right time. I thought Thursday night, 7 o'clock, be ideal, but alas, it's a beautiful night. So again, thank you so much. Of course, if you're frustrated and struggling with back issues and you want to get outside and enjoy the weather, then maybe this is the ideal time to do it anyway, so that we can get out and enjoy our life without being frustrated with back pain. And that's really what the goal of tonight is, okay? The goal of tonight is to talk about how we're going to ease stiffness and build thoughtless, fearless movement so that you can move confident and feel young forever. And yes, I know forever is a long time, but there's no reason that we should have to live in discomfort, in shackles, and feel like our back is the limiting factor in everything we want to do, okay? Now, as I get started here, a couple things. I cannot see you. Hopefully you can see me, and hopefully you can hear me. So if you can type into the chat, first of all, and just give me a thumbs up and let me know that you can hear me okay, that you can see me on the mini screen, that you can see the shared big picture screen. I would greatly appreciate it, just so that I know we're getting off on the right foot. With that being said, there are multiple options and ways to contact me. I can see and hear it all. Thank you, Mike. I greatly appreciate that. So there are multiple ways on this webinar, on this virtual workshop. And yes, we're not in person. I know I'm not even going to talk about it. That's where we're at. That's where we're at these days. But we're on the computer, we're on the internet. So I still want to make it interactive. I did get one question from a registrant beforehand, so I will cover that in the Q&A section just for that individual. But please, 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 nobody can see you. I don't know if as a consumer, I don't even know if you can see each other's name. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. So feel free to type into the chat, type into the Q&A. If you're having specific problems, if you're having specific questions, if you just have a general question, either about what you're experiencing or what we're going to talk about tonight or what we're going to offer later on, please feel free to reach out. You can do that in the chat, and you can do that in the Q&A, and I will do my best to get to things as we go, all right? So for those of you, there's some new names on the registrant list, and there's some past names, and I absolutely love that, right? That is a fantastic thing. It means that there are some people that I've worked with, and they know, like, and trust me enough to come back and keep listening to me, gab. And there's new people who, unfortunately, are probably struggling with something, and that's why they've registered and they're reaching out. So I'm happy to help past people. I'm happy to help new people. That's what tonight's all about. We do help a lot of individuals with low back pain. Okay, we're going to get into the history of my situation and why we do what we do later on. But you know, our practice is centered around helping active individuals move confidently and feel young again without injections, without medications, without surgeries, without feeling like you have zero independence in the situation, without feeling like you have to always rely on somebody else to feel better, okay? So that's what we're about, right? Our unique situation is that we help people, we empower people to get healthier, get stronger, get more active, get more mobile, without relying on some of these other things that, for lack of better terms, and I'm sorry, I'm probably throwing somebody under the bus, but they're crap, right? I don't have any other way to put it, so I apologize, all right? So that's our goal, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. That's our mission. And tonight is really to talk about my why, and then talk about the what, and then I'm not going to lie, there's something at the end which is going to be an awesome opportunity for you if it makes sense and it's the right fit, okay? So a couple of housekeeping options here, or a couple of housekeeping items. Please turn off your cell phones. Please close down your browsers. All right. And I hate to be the teacher here, you know, waving my finger at you, but I have spent a lot of time on this presentation. I have spent a lot of time in researching how I'm going to help people with back pain, and we have helped a lot of people get there. So I would appreciate your full attention. Something comes up, obviously, you got to deal with it. You got to do what you do. But let's take this seriously, because I am taking it 100% seriously. Have a pen and paper ready to take notes. There's a couple things that we're going to get into, which are going to talk about the progression of back pain. First of all, why a lot of people are having back pain, and then the progression of how we treat back pain. And you might want to take some notes. I'm going to go over tonight some interactive. I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and we're going to go full screen. And you're going to see me demonstrate some different things. But it's not a one size fits all either. I just want to show you some demonstrations, give you some options to start thinking about, have you done this or not for your situation yet? I want to have you ask questions and be ready to insert yourself, right? So insert yourself in the situation. If you hear me saying something and it resonates with you, speak up, please. I will not enjoy listening to myself talk and have no feedback from you all as we go forth here, okay? And then before we get going, type into the chat, right? Type in and let me know, where are you watching from? What brings you here? Are you from Wisconsin? Are you from within the state? Are you joining us from well outside the state? Make sure you type in, let us know. Mike says Nina, good. Mike, local, love it. Fox Valley. Yeah, type in, let us know. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what brings you here. I will say, before we get going here, and not to take up a lot of time, but I will say, with every yin, there's a yang, right? With every negative, there's a positive. So everything that's going on in the world, we're not going to talk about it much tonight. We want to keep this optimistic and positive and trudge straight full ahead. But when we have to shift a lot of stuff online, at first I was like, oh, great. I can't have people coming into the clinic for these workshops and learning together. I can't get in front of people. But I will say the beauty of this is the number of people that we've been able to talk to and reach out in other states, even for some of our golf specific stuff, other countries. I talked to a guy in Scotland and helped him over the internet with some of his issues. So there's a yin and there's a yang, and I don't know if it's what it is, but the yang here, the downfall of not being able to do live workshops is that we are able to reach a little bit more people, a few more people, hopefully through the internet. So make sure you type in, let us know how you're doing, let us know why you're here. Okay. So after all, as much as I want it to be, it's not about me, it's about you. So why would this workshop be beneficial for you? So we're really going to talk about why low back pain is not a forever death sentence. Okay. So many people, up to 80% of us, will have back pain at some point in our life. And for whatever reason, it just seems to be that elephant in the room for a lot of us, right? It's that death sentence. It's that, oh, I can't do X, Y, and Z because of my back. And, oh, I wake up in the morning and my back is the first thing I think about. Or, oh, I go to sleep at night and I just wish when I wake up in the morning that back pain would be gone. So this is really letting you know, first of all, from positive spin, back pain is not a forever death sentence for you. Okay. And I many individuals, we've seen some miraculous things. Just keep the hope, keep the faith. I promise you, it's not as bad as you might think, and it's not as bad as others might want to let you believe. This is a step-by-step guide on how we have helped thousands of local and online individuals beat down back pain, right? First of all, there comes a understanding of why, and then there comes an understanding of what. I will give you the what, I promise, and I'll talk to you specifically about how we go about it. I want you to think about a life with no back pain. What does that look like for you? Okay, because it's possible. It really is possible. We get to a point with pain and inflammation and tightness and stiffness and radiating and all these things. We get to a point sometimes, if it's chronic, that we wonder if it's ever going to go away. But trust me, it can and it will with the right approaches. So think about a life with no back pain. What does that mean for you, right? What would that open up for you opportunity-wise? What would you be able to do if your back wasn't struggling, if you weren't struggling with back frustrations? And I want you to focus on that, right? Now we have to focus on the reality. We can't say there's no weeds, but I really, really believe that having hope and having an understanding of where you want to go is a very, very large part in this whole deal. And you'll learn our core matrix, right? Matrix sounds cool. Sounds like we have this big system, and roughly we do, but it's not complex, people. It's really not complex. You'll learn when an individual comes through these doors with back pain, you'll learn what we do for them step by step, what it looks like. And once again, I'll give you some real life live examples here as we go. So who is this workshop for, right? We have a few people on here already, which is great, and many other people probably watching live. So who is this for? We don't want to waste anybody's time. If you're an active individual and your back has stopped you from doing what you really want to do, which is get into the gym, working out, making gains, and destroying your stress, this is for you, right? You woke up with back pain this week, and for the first time you said, am I getting old, or what's going on here? All right, that's I'm 37 years old. I unfortunately have a couple, maybe not back specifically, but had that thought a couple times. Am I getting old? You've had back pain for years. This is for the individual who has tried everything, and they honestly have no idea where to turn next. Okay. Now, a little aside here. In our brick and mortar practice, in these four walls, I am at the clinic tonight. People usually either come to us first or they come to us last. So either we're their first hope or their last resort, okay? And we've seen great success with both. So even if you've tried everything and you have no idea where to turn next, do not give up. We have worked with many individuals that are in that same boat, all right? This is classic right here, right? You only feel good when you see your chiro, your massage therapist, your manual-based physical therapist, sometimes me, but you can't make it last on your own, right? You need to see that. The only time you feel good is when you see that individual 2 or 3 times a week. If you don't, you feel like the world's falling apart, and you need to schedule that appointment to get back in with them. Just FYI, that's not normal, right? That's not truly getting out of back pain. I just want people to understand that, okay? Who else should be on this? Well, if you can only take the edge off with medications, ibuprofen, Aleve, worse off yet, narcotics. We do have a very big issue, with many issues nowadays in 2020, but we do have a very big issue with painkillers and addiction and where that leads some people. And unfortunately, it's many individuals who never had a inkling to go down that road in the first place. So we want to keep people off that stuff as much as possible. You've had not 1, not 2, but 3 surgeries on your spine. And yes, this does happen to people, right? It's still not over for you. It's still not over for you. There is still a way to get back to doing what you want. All you want to do is move heavy stuff around, and you want to get your fitness going, but your back says not today, right? That's for you. This is for you. We help you move efficiently, move confidently. This is for you. And you've had a legitimate fight with your family member, a spouse, a mom or a dad, a kid or a brother or sister, because of your or their, sorry, pardon my French, bitching about their back, complaining about their back, saying I can't do this because I'm about my back. This is real world stuff, right? This is real world stuff. The number of times that people come in these doors because their spouse said, I've had enough of hearing about you and your problems. Plenty of people, okay? So who have we helped? Well, we've helped all sorts of individuals, all right? We are back pain specialists. From the get-go, when I started my own practice, we're going to get to the mission and the why, but it was all about helping individuals get out of back pain, all right? We've helped many individuals. We've helped young gymnasts, right, that do some crazy stuff, and we've helped them get out of pain, get them back to their sport, doing what they love, and becoming independent, right? I always joke that I have a bad business model. When I make people healthy and independent, sometimes I never see them again, right? So if I do my job well, if we do our job well, we lose business. But that's the beauty of it, is we're helping people and we're making them independent. That is the goal. We've had other people that have had significant spasms, right? Literally can hardly move, can't hardly get out of bed, can't hardly stand up straight. And a little bit of proper reset, a little bit of proper loading, a few sessions later, right, they're good. Now, some people, it's not a magic pill. It's not a magic trick. It's not done in overnight. But again, a lot of times understanding the why and then giving the right intervention is very, very beneficial for people, okay? And I think if you look at any of these testimonials, the one thing I want you to take away is every individual, it's not just about pain relief. It's not just about getting out of whatever brought them in the door. It's transforming them to be better than they were even before their pain started, right? So we're giving them proactive steps. We're empowering them to take their situation and run with it. So make sure whoever it is that you want to work with, like and trust, practitioner, make sure they have that goal in mind. Pain relief is not enough, because pain relief typically means you feel better for a little while and then down the road it comes back. So that brings me to my story and why. And this is all about you, but we got to talk a little bit about where we're at and why I'm even doing this webinar tonight. It's essentially our mission and our life work when it comes to Modus RX. So the goal is to take a sledgehammer to the traditional model. And again, I apologize. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but some of the ways that we're dealing with back pain in the traditional model, and I'll leave it at that, are just absolute garbage. Okay, it's frustrating, it's infuriating, and I'm not going to say anything else about it. So the goal is to really take a sledgehammer to the way that we're traditionally dealing with back pain, because we know it's not working, right? It's just not working. So we gotta try a different way, and that's the whole goal behind what we're doing here. Now, we see more than back pain, but any physical therapist, any chiropractor, a large number of people that are struggling are going to be dealing with back pain, upper back pain, neck pain, and that's why our situation, our business, that's what my mission is all about. So it really started my second year in practice. Now, I've been a licensed physio for over 10 years. I've had my own practice for coming up on 5 here. But in my second year of practice, when I was just a young buck, didn't know any better, was just trying to help people, was still looking at my college physical therapy textbooks and looking at everything as black and white. I had a patient come in with low back pain, and we did our spiel. We did our typical insurance-based, you have so many visits approved, and hopefully we can solve your problem in that time frame. So we got to a point, and this individual was doing pretty well, right? He got out of pain. He felt like in the 8 visits that we had worked together, we'd make significant progress, and his insurance ran out. Essentially, for those of you that are familiar with in-network insurance, your in-network, your insurance oftentimes will approve so many visits for physical therapy when it's deemed medically necessary, right? We'll talk about that later on. Now, when this individual felt better and they had to be discharged or graduated because their insurance ran out, I thought all was good, right? I thought all was great. Person was out of pain, felt like we accomplished what we wanted in a pretty short amount of time. And then about 3 months later, this individual comes back and ends up on my schedule. All right. And the individual comes in, same problem again. And she says, well, I was feeling really, really good. But, about a month, 2 months later, things kind of really came back with a vengeance. And, I don't really know what happened. And in my process, my interviewing, I always want to try to get a best reasoning or a best answer from the person in front of me about why they think they're here, why they think they're struggling. So I said, you know what? Why do you think this happened? And this gentleman looked me square in the eye and said, you're the physical therapist. Why don't you figure that out? Right? And that's when it all changed for me. It all changed. Honestly, it's not this big overwhelming story, but it all changed because what I realized at that point in time was that there's a big difference, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. There's a big difference between medical necessity, according to what an insurance wants, and life necessary, right? Life necessity. In this individual, we were able to get out of pain, but because of restrictions in the traditional model, we weren't able to transform them. We weren't able to transform the situation. We weren't able to make them all the way well. And I realized, even though I was too young and too scared and too timid to really take big action on it until a few years later, I realized that something wasn't right here, right? Something was not right. If that person came back to me with the exact same problem a few months later, and they had to tell me that, you need to figure this out and you're the one to tell me why this is happening, but I was kind of restricted by the insurance situation, that's when it all changed for me. So that's why medically necessary doesn't mean life necessary, right? Insurance companies and the powers that be that cover this stuff, they want you to have 180 degrees of shoulder mobility. They want you to have little rinky-dink strength gains. But they don't care if you're the type of individual that needs to be able to lift your kid from the car seat to the stroller. They don't care if you're the type of the individual who the only way you can function every day is if you go to the gym and press a lot of weight overhead. They don't care if you're a golfer and your only escape from the 9 to 5 and everything else is swinging that club, 40 times around or whatever it is. So medical necessity to me was not life necessity, and that's where this shift happened, and that's where this practice is going, and that's where we're helping a lot of people with back pain, because it can't be just pain relief. All right. We help active individuals move confidently and feel young, right? So I'm going to hopefully pound it through. It's an ultimate transformation. It's not just pain relief here. So we are low back pain specialists, and we have written a book. I've written a book on the 7 secrets to relieve low back pain. There's a lot of good information here, a lot of actionable steps, but this is kind of a culmination of a lot of the people we've worked with, low back pain, individuals with low back pain, sometimes in a book, sometimes in a program, sometimes in a webinar. It's hard not to make things cookie cutter, but these are some of the common things that we see. If anybody has any interest beyond, what we're doing tonight, and you want to get access to this book, let me know. There is an ebook option for it, so we can get that to you. But yeah, we thrive on helping people with low back pain, and we've even taken the step to write a book about it. So here we go. So the why. All right, we got to start with the why, and I apologize. I'm keeping my eye on the time here. I want to be sensitive, so I'm not texting anybody. I want to be sensitive about time for everybody, but I don't want to miss anything. So why do we really have back pain? All right, what's the big secret? Everybody's looking for the big secret. What's the big fix? What's the one thing that we can do that's going to instantly make back pain better? All right. If you've been living with back pain for longer than 4 weeks and you haven't been able to return to the activities that you love, that you need to, that you want to, work, the gym, taking care of your kids, getting outside to enjoy a beautiful night, here's your likely reason why. And here it goes. Okay. I'm building up the anticipation. I wish I could wow you with something that's way, way, way sexy or advanced, or just sounds like I'm this big genius and I have all the answers. But alas, after treating back pain for 10 years, after reading the research, there's no perfect answer, by the way. I don't claim this to be perfect, but there is a best case scenario for everything. And here's why, right? Here's why we really have back pain. Your back does not have the capacity to handle what you're asking it to do. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to pause on this, because I promise you it is almost this simple. Your back, meaning your spine, your joints, your discs, your nerves, your muscles, your pelvis, your hip joints, when we really, 95% of the time, and we'll talk about this, but 95% of the time, when you have pain, it's because your body does not have the capacity to handle what you're asking it to do. Therefore, it does what the body is beautiful at doing. It's a awesome system, the human body, because it talks back and it tries to give us signs that something's not right. So it stiffens up, it creates pain and guarding, and sometimes it radiates the symptoms elsewhere. right? Have you had that pain in the butt, pain down the leg, pain going up, pain going across? It's just like a heart attack, okay? It's different muscle, but your heart, when it really is having dysfunction, it tries to give you warning signs and signals that something's not so right. So it radiates symptoms up in your jaw, it radiates symptoms down the arm. You get nauseous, you get the sweats. It's not skeletal muscle, but it's still muscle. And that's the same thing, is it's creating these symptoms, these alarm systems to let you know something's not right. Now, I'm begging people, I know you want it to be something way more specific. I know you want it to be, well, I got that bulging disc and that's why I have pain. I got that pinched nerve and that's why I have pain. I got something that's out of alignment and I got to be popped back into place, right? I wish it was that, because it would be way, way more simple, and we'd have way, way more success when we treat these things. But that really is only the case. Disc, true pain from disc pain, from pinched nerves, from some of these things that are really, really specific. And I'm not spitballing here, right? There's solid research that says 90% of the time, these are not the things. 90% of the time, your back pain is coming from something non-specific, something mechanical, something meaning that your tissues and the areas in the back and the spine just can't handle what you're asking them to do, and so they talk back, all right? So 95% of the time, when you have back pain, when we have back pain, in probably other areas of the body, it's just that you can't handle what we're asking it to do, all right? So what are some examples of that? Posture, right? We blame everything in the world on posture. Oh, my posture's not good. Oh, it's crummy posture. I got bad posture. I got to get a new chair. Maybe, but realistically, it's just too much of the same position, right? We don't have a posture problem. We have a not moving problem. So too much of the same posture, even if it's perfect posture, too much of the same position, your body can't handle that same position for long periods of time. The tissues don't have the ability to hold that position. The joints don't like being in that position for too long, and so they talk back. Repetitive movement, right? Your body is having to do work and produce force time after time after time, and if it doesn't have the ability to do that, it doesn't have the strength, it doesn't have the endurance, it doesn't have the efficiency, your back starts waving the white flag saying, we can't do this. Too heavy or a sudden spasm with lifting, you're lifting, you're in the gym and you're getting after it, you're feeling good, and all of a sudden the back goes. You're on the golf course, you take a swing, all of a sudden the back goes. You're lifting your kid into the car seat, all of a sudden the back goes. You want to say it's a disc or something went, bad, and 5-10% of the time maybe, but realistically, your body and those tissues just didn't have the ability to produce the force, and the movement wasn't efficient, and so your body said, nope, we waved the white flag, this isn't good, you got to do something about this, okay? How about this one? Waking up with a stiff back. Your back at night, sometimes, if you have pain at night, which a lot of people do, this doesn't apply, but some people feel really good laying down, finally not loading the back, finally can take some stress off. And then you get up in the morning and you're stiff as all get out again, all right? It's just your back saying, it was great getting some rest, it was great getting some time off, and now you're asking us to move again, and we really don't want to. We're saying no thank you, all right? All these things are capacity. I'm going to show you right now what I mean by capacity. It's overwhelmingly simple. I just don't think it always comes to the front of mind when we're talking about pain in the back, okay? So when I talk about capacity, we're going to talk about the overflowing cup. And the overflowing cup analogy is, it's all in the name of capacity here, all right? So I'm going to, well, I can see my individual pictures, so hopefully everybody else can too. So we're going to talk a little bit about this overflowing cup analogy. When we talk about capacity, all it is how much can your body handle? How much stress, how much movement, how much endurance-wise, how much repetitive nature can it handle? How much of getting into a position and coming out of that position can it handle? How much of being in one position can it handle? These are all things that are capacity. So this is the overflowing cup analogy. And if you get nothing else from tonight, maybe you get to see me get a little wet here, all right? So I have a small coffee cup, and I have this bottle of water. And I am going to drink this. I promise I'm not wasting this. I'll take a sip right now. I know. But let's say, for this is an analogy, so bear with me. Let's say this cup is your back, is your spine, right? It's your body's it's your trunk. Every time we move, every time we get into a position, anytime we bend over, anytime we stay in one position for a long period of time, anytime we swing a golf club, we're adding water to the cup, right? We're adding stress and stimulus to this cup. And anytime I bend over to pick up my grandkid, every time I sleep in a weird position, non-physical things, stress, anxiety, poor nutrition, poor sleep, all these add to the cup, all right? We get to the point, now I don't know if you can see this, but we get to the point where all of a sudden it's overflowing. And I'm going to have to clean that up later, all right? That's the pain. That is the point of pain. So the cup overflowed because I didn't have enough cup. I didn't have enough capacity to handle everything that I'm asking it to do, right? Now what if I take and I make that cup bigger? Hopefully you can see that, right? I hope I don't spill on my computer here, I promise. So I take this cup and now I fill it into a bigger cup and now it's only half full, right? This bigger cup is what we do for people every day, day in and day out. This is where people were when they started having problems, and this is where people are going with us. They're building a bigger cup, meaning now I can take the same water bottle, the same stresses, the same positions, the same activities. I can add more, and I can add more, and I can add more, and I can do more, and I can stress my body, and I can do all the things I love. And that cup's not going to overflow, okay? So we're building a bigger cup. We're building a bigger capacity for people. When you have back pain, 90% of the time, when we have these issues, 90% of the time, our cup is too small and the stresses that we put into that cup, the water that we add into that cup is far too great. It overflows, and that's when our body starts talking back with pain. Now, chronic pain, right? This is why I love this analogy, because it helps make so much sense even in my own head. Chronic pain, guess what happens? Over time, 3 months or more of back pain. Over time, your cup gets smaller, right? Your body goes into hiding mode or dysfunction, and the cup gets smaller. And a lot of times the stresses continue. So the cup gets smaller, but the water that you're pouring in stays the same. And chronic pain, how do you reverse out of that? How do you get out of that? It's tough. It's really, really tough for a lot of people. The stresses don't change. Their pain doesn't really change. If anything, it gets worse because their cup keeps getting smaller and smaller. So we got to hit the reset button. We got to give them a new cup. And then, after giving them a new cup, we got to make it as big as we possibly can. And that takes a lot of work and time. Some people, they're fortunate. Their issues are not as big and they take action on it sooner. And maybe their cup isn't, as overflowing and it doesn't take as much. But chronic situations, you've been dealing with it for a while, just keep in mind, keep the hope, keep the faith, but it takes a while to make that cup bigger. And hopefully we even reduce some of the stressors, some of the water that we're putting in there. Maybe we start sleeping better. Maybe we start eating better. Maybe we start moving more, all those things. So I spent a lot of time on that analogy because we're building a bigger cup through tissue health, through appropriate mobility, strengthening through ranges of motion. It's the only way that we can really start building that bigger cup so that we're not getting overflow from activity or life challenges, all right? Everything in life I've realized is stimulus and response, stress and response, stimulus response, right? We get a challenge from the environment. How does our body respond to it? When the challenges from the environment overrun the way that we can respond to it, that's where we have pain and that's where we have issues, all right? So what do we do about this, all right? So now I'm going to take you through step by step how we help individuals here. And in each way, I got water all over the floor, so I apologize if I end up soaking wet when I'm showing you some exercises and whatnot here. But this is a live webinar for you, and those of you that are watching on replay, just keep your laughing and your shares to a minimum. So what do we do about this? This is really a process for a lot of individuals, okay? I will start with both ends of the spectrum. It's not a quick fix, right? It's not a quick fix. So if we really want to address things the right way, it's not a one-off, two-off. You do a couple things. I mean, if you're fortunate, if it's the first time having back pain, if you take action on it fast, okay, maybe. But most individuals, truly, it's not a one-off, two-off. But other end of the spectrum, it's not for the rest of your life 3 times a week, right? At a certain point, we hit that independence and that empowerment point where you take this stuff and you run with it on your own. So what do we do about this, right? First of all, I cannot deny the fact that somebody has pain, and we have to address that pain first. So individuals that say, I'm going to push through pain, right? Or no pain, no gain, or it'll get better on its own, or I'll work through it. It's just tough. It's just tough. It's realistically not a great strategy many times. So we need to reset, reboot, and release, okay? What that means is whatever's happening, we need to calm it down. We need to put the fire out, and we need to reboot. I'm trying to work with analogies to help you understand some of this stuff better. I don't know if they're always good analogies, but I like the equivalent of sometimes, for whatever reason, your computer starts acting weird. You unplug it, you power off, you unplug it, you plug it back in. Miraculously, when you turn it back on, it seems to be working fine again, okay? So that's that first stage. Now, how do we do this? We'll go into that in a second. Second stage is reload. So after we've taken the tissue back to hopefully a pain-free state, we start to reload that tissue. We start to take you through some range of motion. We start to test the waters a little bit. We start to dip our toe in the water of, are we really out of pain, or are we just deceiving ourselves? Step 3 is reinforce. Now, reinforce is really about adding some stress, and this is where we start adding some initial strength, okay? Now, there's strength training, all sorts of degrees of strength training. So reinforce is about a very particular type of strength training to build that cup back up and give you a bigger cup. And you have to be very, very particular about this point, all right? Reintegrate. Reintegrate is when it's a beautiful place to be, people. When we get to reintegrate, this is the phase where we're starting to do more specific tasks for what you want to get back to doing. Sport-specific tasks, job-specific tasks, hobby transformation, right? That last stage. It's the optimal place to be. It's the optimal place to be because really you can handle anything that's going to get thrown at you. Now, I started talking about there's no perfect solution, right? And I'm not making any guarantees that when we take our approach, people don't have issues again in the future. But what I would say is that taking the transformation stage, getting to this point, you're going to be able to handle a heck of a lot more than you ever were able to pre-injury, post-injury, but definitely even pre-injury, all right? So let's get into step-by-step now, and this is where we'll start breaking down a little bit. We'll start talking about specific examples. I'll stop the presentation phase, and we'll get full screen, and I'll show you some different stuff. So if you are still with us, make sure you reach out with questions as we go here. I apologize, I'm kind of moving my cursor around, but I want to keep an eye on the chat and the Q&A section as well. So the reset, reboot, and release phase. This is all about putting out the fire and trying to get the tissues, the joints, anything else back to a place where there's very limited guarding, very minimal tension, very minimal knots or trigger points, okay? And so one of the strategies that we use here, which is very, very beneficial, is called dry needling. And I'm not going to demonstrate dry needling on myself, but we are going to talk about it a little bit. And really what dry needling is, if you haven't heard about it yet, it's a way for us to use a very small acupuncture-like needle to go deep into the tissues and basically reboot them, reset them. And there's a couple positives that come with it. One, we control the thing that controls the muscles, which is the nerves, right? We alter the nervous activity, in a positive way so that the things that control the muscles are not dysfunctional. 2, we bring some circulation to the muscles and the tissues. 3, we bring the muscle tension. If the muscle fibers are like this, we take it back to a far more normal spot, a far more normal length tension. And lastly, we produce an immune response. And what that means is it's like sending the troops to the area. So with that immune response, we send the troops to the area, and it does all the good things that an immune response is going to do, which is promote healing, promote cellular regeneration, all these different things. We might try manipulation. So spinal manipulation is a huge, huge part of our practice. And all it is it's a way to jumpstart the process, right? When we use spinal manipulation, which is if you've had a chiropractic adjustment, very similar, maybe different methodology, different theories, but we use spinal manipulation in this practice. And what we do is we produce a quick stretch and a sometimes kind of a pop or a movement, a quick movement through the joints to produce fluid exchange and to produce relaxation of those muscles. We do massage, right? We do deep tissue work. We do soft tissue release. We do cupping here. We do myofascial cupping. And then this reset, reboot phase, we're probably going to take an individual through some assisted, some guided range of motion, and some stretching. It's really about getting the tissue not guarded, not frustrated, not frustrated by the tissue being guarded, not all knotted up, and start to improve some movement and some range of motion there. Now, reload. We start putting some of these tissues through some active range of motion, and we build up the confidence and the tolerance to some of these loads or these stressors. Now, this is kind of like the little win stage. We're looking for little wins here, right? If you had a hard time just getting up and down off the chair, now we're looking for a very similar movement, but even less intense to go better and pain-free. So the key point of the reload is we need to be mobile where we should be mobile. Where we need to be mobile for a healthy back is through the upper back and the shoulders, through the mid-back, upper back, and shoulders, and through the hips, okay? Our lower back, our lumbar spine sits right between those two things. So it would behoove us to get as mobile as possible between the upper back and the hips, all right? So this is where we're going to stop our screen share, all right? And I'm going to go full screen here. And what we're going to do is we are going to demonstrate a couple things here. So is everybody able to hear me, see me? Again, if you're on, I would greatly appreciate you letting me know that you can see and hear me in the chat. Beautiful. All right. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Again, I am sorry for the technical difficulties. This is what happens when we are live on the internet. So the reload phase, right? What we're really going to talk about here is we're going to talk about how to induce some mobility through the spots where we should be mobile, all right? So we're going to be looking at mobility through the upper back and the shoulders, mobility through the hips, and then there is a little movement of the lower back, which is, if you think about the lower back here, there's this little arch, and we want to have the low back get comfortable with a little bit of forward bending and backward bending. Now, a lot of this stuff we're laying down, right? So the top three things that I'm going to show you for this mobility or this reloading stage is a little bit of hip mobility, a little bit of upper back mobility, and then some gentle kind of lower back range of motion options, all right? So I got a couple tools here all set for before our webinar. So first off, if you have a foam roller or something, we want to work on keeping our lower body nice and stable, and we want to work on mobilizing our upper back and our shoulders. So one of my favorite exercises is the open book. It's called the open book. So what I do is I get my top leg up on a foam roller. If you don't have a foam roller, it can be a basketball, a pillow, whatever you got to do. And I get my bottom leg straight up. And I take my hands and I stack them on top of each other. And we call this the open book. Because what I'm going to do is open the top half of my body. And I'm going to try to open my chest towards the sky. But I'm keeping this knee on the foam roller. All right? And I'm breathing. So we're going, 8 to 10 reps here. opening up and we're breathing. I'm trying to keep my lower body like a statue while I rotate that upper back and I open up the shoulders towards the sky. Maybe hold a breath or two at the end range, and then close it back up. And you would obviously do both sides there. If you feel any big differences side to side, make sure you let me know, or you might want to take note of that, okay? Differences side to side, rotationally through the upper back. The lower back will probably pay the price for that a little bit, so to speak, all right? The other thing that we really like for the hips, right? A lot of people that have a hard time with lower back problems, their hips do not rotate well, right? They're just not mobile. So they're really tight in the butt, they're really tight in the groin, they're really tight in the front. So one of the simplest ways to start with some of our hip mobility things is to get the feet nice and wide, right? Knees bent, feet flat. Get the feet nice and wide. This is not the most flattering shot of me here, but in the name of back pain relief, here we go. I'm going to windshield wipe my knees side to side, okay? So I'm keeping my feet right where they are, but I'm letting the soles of my feet come up, and I'm just rocking side to side here now, all right? Now, the key point here, this is simple but effective, because if I widen my feet, if I get my feet wider than my shoulders, and I drop my knees down, my low back and pelvis can rotate, but I'm trying to keep my ribs and my shoulders flat up above. All right? So we're working side to side here, and we're breathing. Working side to side, and we're breathing. It's okay if your low back and your pelvis come with you, but we want those ribs and upper back staying flat to the ground, okay? So that's a good hip mobility kind of reloading strategy. Now, reloading the actual low back. We're gonna work on something called pelvic tilting here. And this is a very, very simple, very old school, very boring, mundane exercise, but we want that low back to tolerate bending forward and bending backwards. But we don't wanna be doing this big, forward bend, backward bend while we're standing or weight bearing. So I'll show you this one from the side. What you're gonna be doing here is you're gonna be getting in this position again where your knees are bent. Now, sometimes it helps to put a folded towel under your low back or something like this. And I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this too well from the camera, but what we're gonna work on is from this position, I'm gonna think about flattening my low back into the ground, right? So I'm rolling my pelvis. You can see my belt buckle here. I'm rolling that towards my chin, and I'm actually trying to flatten my lower back into the ground. Now I'm doing that by using my abdominal muscles. So I'm crunching my abdominal muscles, or I'm rolling my pelvis back, but I'm not really pushing through my feet right now at all. And then I'm going to try to arch my back and lift off the ground. Now, for some individuals, it may be more painful one way or the other. And I would argue that you just work the direction that doesn't hurt and actually feels like you want to do it more. And then the next day, try to come back and try that opposite direction. But this is just a nice little reloading strategy for that low back, okay? So if you're in the phase where right now you don't have access to somebody to do, deep tissue work, do dry needling, but you got to do something, you want to get some movement. Those are a couple really, really simple but effective reloading strategies, okay? Just some ways to get some range of motion going back through that spine, and really focus on mobility where we need to be mobile. So, reinforce, okay? Now this is essentially stage 3. We had reboot, reset, kind of stage 1, put the fire out. Stage 2 is reload, start introducing some of those gentle movements, all right? Reinforce, stage 3. This is where we start adding some strength. We layer in some strength. We layer in some challenges to the back, to the core, to the hip. Now this is where it gets very specific. This is probably the most important phase of getting out of back pain, all right? You got to start with pain relief, obviously. But if I had to look at the whole process where things get messed up the most, is this phase. You have to start with exercises where the muscles of the trunk are going to hold, support, or transfer energy. All right, that's the design. That's the job of the trunk. So we can't say, well, I got to get my core strong, and I'm going to go through these big sweeping ranges of motion, and I'm going to do deadlifts are awesome. You know, sit-ups in the right situation are awesome. All these things are great. There's no bad exercise, just bad times to do exercise. At this point, we want to focus on muscles that hold, support, stabilize. We call them, really, in our world, we call them isometrics, where the muscle's doing work, but it's not going through a big range of motion, okay? So what are some examples? And it's pretty straightforward, all right? I'm going to show you three straightforward things. If you're at the point where the reload, the last stage we talked about was way too easy, didn't cause you problems, maybe you want to start getting into the reinforced stage here, all right? Maybe this is a little bit more appropriate for you. But this is where we're going to start adding what we would consider strength to our situation. So some of these you've probably seen before, some of them not, but we want to work on stability and transferring energy in our core. So if you've heard of planks, awesome, they're beautiful. Sometimes people can really mess them up by trying to do too much too soon, trying to show off for a plank hold contest, that type of stuff. We just want to work on getting the front of our core rock solid, the side of our core rock solid, and then the muscles that help us rotate rock solid. It's relatively simple, again, not earth-shattering stuff, but people can screw this up really easily. So a front plank, okay? There's all sorts of options about how you do this. I'm just going to show us the first. If this doesn't agree with you, this is a great time to reach out, ask questions, maybe take advantage of our offer at the end here. But this is where we're giving you very baseline exercises. They're great, but they might not necessarily benefit you individually. So a front plank, I'm going to get on my elbows, and I'm going to start, I'll kind of angle here so you can see this. I'm going to dig my toes into the ground. I'm going to keep my toes and my hips, my feet relatively close to shoulder width, and I got my elbows right under my shoulders. And I'm just going to come up into a front plank, which means I'm essentially bridging my body up off the ground. Now here's where people really can mess this up. From this position, we shouldn't be here, we shouldn't be down here, and we should be squeezing our buns and trying to tuck our pelvis underneath, okay? So we're going to hold that. Here's the other way to mess this up. We're only going to hold it for 5 or 10 seconds a pop, right? We're going to hold for 5 seconds, and then we're going to come back up, maybe 5-10 seconds, and then a break, a mini break, and then right back up. Mini break, okay? So here's a key point with planks. If you've ever been prescribed planks and you're holding them for longer than 5 or 10 seconds, but you're in a rehab situation, meaning you're just coming out of pain, you might default to old patterns, old habits, which means instead of using the muscles you should be using, you're going to use the muscles that you used to be using. And anything longer than a 5 or 10 second hold sometimes creates that habit, that old habit coming back. We want to target certain muscles. We want to introduce some stress, but we don't want to overdo it right now. So a plank in a rehab situation, a plank if you have back pain, can be very beneficial, but can also be very detrimental if you're not doing it properly. So in that rehab situation, 5-10 second holds, maybe 5 to 10 reps, and then that's it for that point in time. And you might do that once a day, twice a day, okay? This is not replacing medical prescription of exercises. It's just giving you a baseline of what we would do in a traditional situation, okay? Side planks. Now here's the other game changer, right? So many of our back pain individuals are focusing on one plane of motion, right? Front planks are great. Sit-ups and crunches are okay sometimes. They only really focus on one. We got to make this thing a muscular back brace for you. So side planks, what I'm doing, I'll show you a couple angles here. I'm getting my elbow right under my shoulder. I'm getting my knees kind of in this modified fetal position. And I'm driving my weight through my bottom knee and my elbow. And I'm coming up into this side plank right here. It's not this big, I'm not trying to get legs extended and being here. That's pretty challenging for a lot of people. We're starting with a shorter arc of motion. We're squeezing our buns. We're locking our core tight. And again, 5-10 seconds a pop. All right? This is the reinforce, okay? Reinforce. So we're just trying to add some load to that spine and that trunk that it can tolerate, and we want to do both sides there, all right? Now lastly, we got to work on some rotational type stuff. Now I don't have it set up properly, but this is a really good point in time where you could use a band. For the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to use a foam roller, okay? So what you want to do is, I have a wall over here, and I'm taking this foam roller, and I'm getting into this half kneeling position. So I have my right knee down, my left foot forward, and I have a foam roller that I'm going to jam into the wall here, and I'm going to get my arms right out in front of me. Okay? And what I'm doing is I'm just trying to press into that foam roller. All right? So I'll show you in a second here, but my arms are locked out. I'm squeezing my buns. I'm squeezing my right buns, and I'm trying to drive with the back of my hand here. I'm trying to drive that foam roller into the wall 5-10 seconds. 5-10 seconds. Okay? On and off, just like we did with the front plank, just like we did with the side plank. We're getting that rotation, and we're going both directions. So what that would look like, if I didn't have the foam roller there, I would be set up here, and I'd be trying to do this. I'd be trying to press into the foam roller. Foam roller is right there. I'm pressing, and I'm working those muscles, but we're not going through a big range of motion. You can also do this with a band. So if I have a band anchored over here, and I'm holding the band here, I'm just pressing the band wants to pull me that way, I'm resisting that movement. So a very similar strategy, okay? 3 planes of movement. Get your body in a position where it has to hold and support and stabilize. There's all sorts of variations of that. So if those don't agree with you because of shoulders, because of knees, because of whatever, all sorts of variations. But the idea of the reinforced stage of rehab is to add load, but not overdo it, right? Little wins again, but on a grander stage to where now we're actually strengthening. Now we're actually asking muscles to do some work against resistance. So that is the reinforced stage, okay? Reboot, reset, release, that's stage 1. Reload, stage 2. Start adding a little bit of movement. Reinforce, we just started adding some resistance, okay? Now, reintegrate. This is where we talked about. If you start getting into this, and by the way, again, I got my eye on the chat. Anybody's got questions, make sure you type into the chat. I am going to go over a specific resistance question here at the Q&A, but reintegrate, all right? So this is where you're starting to challenge yourself and expose. We're trying to challenge you and expose you in ways that would mimic some of your goal-oriented tasks in a very smart, very graded manner, okay? So I'm going to use golf as an example. Golf is a violent, rotational sport. I know it sounds funny, but you swing the club as hard as you can on the flap of a butterfly's wing. So it's a good example of, we can't just get a club in your hand and say swing as hard as you can after you're rehabbing from back pain. We have to try some different things that are going to mimic that movement or get you confident with that movement, but it's not actually that movement, all right? Same thing would be for an individual that's got back pain that really, really just despises putting their kid in their car seat, right? We got to get them good at kind of reaching away from their body with some weight. Individual that's got to work on a repeated motion at their job. So we got to start thinking about some of that stuff. We just talked about that. If you're a golfer, we'd start exposing you to golf-like movements. If you need to bend over frequently to care for a child, we'd start exposing you to that, and we get you rock solid with bending forward and beyond, okay? So there's a couple examples. I'm not going to go crazy on this one because everybody's got, this is where it's really not cookie cutter at all. Everybody's got their own version of how do we reintegrate back into what you want to do. But I'll talk about some of my favorite, which are always kind of foundational, and they really never go out of style. So the first one is a deadlift pattern, okay? So a deadlift pattern is something where we're starting to take our spine and our hips through some range of motion, okay? So I have a kettlebell here, and we're starting light, of course. We're starting very light when we do this, but what we're doing is we're going to start placing some stress through our trunk and our hips and our different joints, but we're going through ranges of motion, which was a little bit different than the last stage where we reinforced. to reintegrate, we have to actually start taking our body through some movement, okay? So for those of you that want to deadlift, I know it sounds scary, and I know there's a lot of people that say, oh, deadlifting is bad for your back. When done properly, it's very, very good for your back. So one of the best things that we can do, teach somebody how to take some weight or don't do weight, and start thinking about what happens if I need to get and pull something from below my waist, okay? So for us, we're working on hinging the hips backwards, loading the butt and the hamstrings, and not overloading the lower back, okay? So I might have somebody start with a very, very simple, grab light weight, see how far you can let that weight drop straight down as you push your hips backwards. I'm going to show you from the knee down here what that looks like. With a deadlift, right, if I'm taking a little bit of weight, my hips are going back, my knees are basically staying put. The knees are bending, but they're not coming really forward here, right? So I'm just trying to take my hips and move them forward and back slightly as we work on hinging those hips forward and back, all right? So that might be a strategy. Somebody that's got to be able to hinge their hips. They have to get in an athletic posture. They have to be able to pick up a child from below them. That's one. Whoops, get the camera set up. Another one that I really like because it's always safe and it helps us work on loading our core and our spine. If we take a little bit of weight in one hand, we keep this knee bent, this leg straight. I punch this weight towards the sky, and now what I'm actually doing is I'm lifting my shoulder blades and I'm punching that weight straight up towards the sky. And then I'm rolling my spine back down. I'm punching the weight up towards the sky, lifting my shoulder blades, using my core here, keeping my hips neutral. It's very, very hard to overdo this exercise and drastically hurt your lower back, but it still gets this movement through resistance, right? This resistance through range of motion, which is all about our reintegration phase. So you do, a few reps each side there, okay? So both of those, right? They take a little bit of coaching. They can be done poorly, but again, just giving you some ideas of ways to very, very simply, yet very, very efficiently work on building up your low back and reintegrating to some of these exercises, all right? If it was rotation, like we talked about before, I might take a band. I might have a band. And if I was a rotational athlete or somebody that wanted to be able to rotate well, I might take a band in my hand and I might start just gently working from here, right? So it's not earth-shattering stuff. We were taking resistance and just holding a position. Now we're taking resistance and we're working through range of motion, all right? In the reintegration phase, I don't have a lot of other really good examples that I want to show you because it's so specific to each individual. If you start out with the reload phase with those mobility drills I showed you, and then the reinforced stage with some of those plank holds and some of those things, I feel pretty good that you're probably not gonna set yourself back too much, and they probably are gonna give you a lot of benefit. Some of this stage though, it's very, very specific to each individual. So I just want to give you an idea of what we're talking about with that, where our individuals, they get to this stage, it's fun. It's really, really fun because they start realizing the potential that they have and they start doing things that used to really bother them, okay? So hopefully everybody's doing well. Appreciate everybody for sticking on. So, last phase, right? Last phase here. We got the transformation phase. So this is all about getting you back, getting you rock solid, and actually getting you beyond what it is that you want to do from pre-injury. So if you just wanted to be able to pick your kid up, if you just wanted to be able to walk 3 miles, that is awesome. It's great to know what you want, and it's great to have your why. Transformation happens when we can go beyond that, right? Transformation is about being able to add speed to something, add a length of time or a volume or a repetition or an aspect of endurance or an aspect of variation to it. This is where most traditional rehab or exercise or pain relief strategies do not even come close to, because the traditional model tells us good enough is good enough. The problem is good enough does not help prevent future issues, and it does not prevent the same thing that got us started in the first place from coming back. So, the examples of transformation phase for low back pain, again, if I come back to, we want to add speed, right? We might be taking a medicine ball and we might start throwing it rotationally, right? We might start slamming a medicine ball. We might start planking and then moving in all sorts of different options. I might have somebody close their eyes and march, and there's all sorts of variations again, and that's where my examples are going to be minimal for this. But you have to recognize that when we're building that cup, if you go back to the overflowing cup analogy, and you don't, and you're not watching this live and you catch the replay, make sure you see that analogy, because anytime that we can get to this transformation phase, we're building that cup. We're making that cup way, way larger, all right? So, recap. We start with a reset. We reboot. We release the tissue. We get you out of pain. We use some dry needling. We use some cupping. We use some soft tissue work. We use some manipulation. All that stuff that people love and they want and it feels good. It's great. It has to happen most of the time, but it's just not even close to the end of the story, okay? Second, we reload. We start taking you through some ranges of motion that you're in control of, but they shouldn't be overly earth-shattering or challenging. It's just about getting little wins. We reinforce. We start adding some resistance. This is, like I said, one of the key points where things can go wrong for people. Add too much resistance with too much dynamic, it can be too much too soon. You don't reinforce enough, and you focus too much on the stretching and the mobility, and you don't work enough on actually loading the tissues, you never get over the hump. So this reinforced stage becomes really critical. That's where we talked about the planks, the side planks, the anti-rotation type moves. Reintegrate is now starting to get more specific to what your goals are, so we're starting to build you up in a graded way, in a smart way to what you want to get back to doing. And then transformation is taking you way, way beyond what you ever thought was possible, okay? So I said that we've worked with many individuals. Many individuals have been so kind to share their experience with me and with us. And what I want to know for you is, could you be the next Ken, okay? So Ken, one of my favorite clients, he was with me very early on in the deal, and Ken was a busy business owner, so he needed to have his function, he needed to have his sanity, he needed to be able to just do the simple things in life day in and day out, and it was getting very tough. Ken had back pain that was radiating down his leg, was creating very, very large amounts of difficulty for standing, even more than 5-10 minutes, and Ken had a fantastic result, okay? And again, I want to go to the key point. We eliminated the back pain and leg pain through the process. It's a process. We use dry needling. But like Ken said, we developed an exercise program that focused on building core strength and helped him get independent. Not only is the strength established, but we are insured and we are hopefully preventing it from coming back, okay? So I kind of went through our our reset, our reboot, our reload, our reinforce, our reintegrate. Here's kind of what it looks like on paper, all right, just to give you a little bit of an idea. So we have something coming up here in terms of an offer that any new individual or past individual that's coming in with a new situation, we always start in phase one, which is understanding and planning. So every individual has their right to a free discovery visit, which is just our way of saying, are we a good fit for you, and can we actually help you? So we determine what's going on, we identify the root cause, we establish goals, and then we say, does this make sense for us to work together or not? Phase two is pain relief. So, home exercises, calming down any swelling or inflammation, getting rid of stiffness, breaking down any muscle tension. I mean this with the utmost respect, but unfortunately, this is where most traditional physical therapy stops. Because of insurance or because there's just not a lot of ability to go beyond a certain point. Once the pain relief is taken care of, they say you're graduated, or they say that you've met all, it's no longer medically necessary. I call BS. So the big stuff happens in phase 3 and 4. Transformation, getting back to, that's the reintegrate. That's the the reinforce and the reintegrate. We're starting to activate and strengthen underworking muscles. We're starting to stabilize surrounding joints. The lasting benefit comes from that reintegration. We're returning to your desired activity. We're restoring confidence, and we're getting back to really doing what you want. All right. And then the goal is to keep it that way. So for a lot of individuals, it takes work. It's a lifestyle change, and I know that doesn't sound fun and exciting or sexy, but to keep out of pain, to keep ahead of everything, it is a lifestyle change, and that's how we help people a lot with accountability. Okay, so what time we got? All right, we're going on here. I appreciate everybody that's still with us. I greatly appreciate it. And if you wanna say here is the offer, so to speak, here's what we're gonna do for a thank you for bearing with me, for taking time out of your beautiful evening. Now it's starting to get dark out. As a thank you for attending and giving me your time, we have a very, very big offer. Okay, so in the next couple of weeks, I just got back from some time off last week, and this week has been crazy, and next week and the week after are going to be that way too. But I told Becky, our front desk person, our office manager, who's just awesome. If you haven't met her yet, make sure you get a chance to. But I told her we're blocking some spots. All right, we can't book out everything, so we've opened up a few slots in the next couple of weeks for our free discovery visit to help you get answers. All right, and that's great because everybody has that opportunity, but that's not all. If you take advantage of the free discovery visit and you show up, and mind you, I didn't get an idea from everybody of where they're coming from, but this is an option either in person or online. Okay, if you're outside of the state of Wisconsin, there's probably some things that we'd have to address, but if you're in the state or you're local, we can do this in person or online. If we agree that whatever's happening is the right fit and we can help you, and you agree to a plan of care, you agree to take some action on this, we're going to take $200 off that treatment plan. Whatever that plan is, even if it's just one session, you're essentially going to get that session and then some for free. If you do a package with us, you're going to get $200 off that. All right. That's not it. We're going to add a free sports massage. Okay. So sometimes it just feels good to get a spot worked out. As part of your package or part of your plan, we're going to throw in a free sports massage. That's an hour sports massage. You tell me where you need worked on, and I will work it out for you, with no questions asked. And that's not it. We're going to offer in to make this a very, very well-rounded. We talked about the importance of nutrition. We talked about the importance of all these other factors that can overflow your cup. We're going to throw in a free integrative nutritional health consult. Okay, so an individual that we work with is very highly motivated to help people make changes with their nutrition and with their decision making so that they can live a much healthier life. This may result in weight loss, but certainly for the sake of this offer, it's going to result in less pain, less inflammation. Okay. So this is one of our largest offers ever, and it's only going to last for the next 10 minutes. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to type into the chat the link. All right. So if you go to this page, give me 1 second. If you copy and paste that link, if you're still on with us, you copy and paste that, or you go to your web browser and you type in modusrx.com/free-discovery-visit. Okay, that'll bring you to a registration page, and it'll kind of give you a little bit of information. It'll help you give us some information about what's going on. It'll help us learn a little bit about your story. But I'll know, because of you being a registrant, I'll know that you were on this call, and if we see your name come through, we'll know that you're taking advantage of this. All right. You don't see the link. Are you in the chat, Mike? So you might have to copy and paste the link, but it's modusrx.com. So I'll spell it out for you, and it's going to be on the computer here in a second. It's modusrx.com/free-discovery-visit. Okay. So you can write that down and then go to it later. I don't think you're going to be able, I apologize, I don't think you're going to be able to copy and paste from the shared screen here, but go to modusrx.com/free-discovery-visit. And that'll give you the option. Once again, if anybody really struggles because they can't get to the link or they can't access it, let me know. I know who's on. I will share it with you via email after the fact. But right now, I'd like you to take action on this, right? Why do I want you to take action? Because when you invest in yourself, when you take action, you're way more likely to get the results you're looking for. So this isn't some, let's get dollars quick or anything like that. I want to help you. I want to give people a well-rounded program. I want you to be motivated to take action. And it's all going to start with that free discovery session. So go to modusrx.com/free-discovery-visit. I think that's a hyphen, correct? Free-discovery-visit. Anyway, go to that site, all right? Type it in chat one more time, see if it works this time. Now, while you are potentially deciding to do that or not, now is the time to ask questions, okay? So questions about the offer, questions about the potential to work with us, or just questions about your specific situation. Now is the time, all right? Who has one? You can always ask for discovery visit, but right now is the time. In the next 10-15 minutes while we're still on the call, if you can register for that, you are going to get over $500 worth of savings on an offer that probably won't happen again, okay? At least not that I know of. So I'm going to go through, if anybody has any questions, make sure you type into the chat. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to pull up a question I got. So one of our registrants emailed me. And if you have any questions, type into the chat. I'll keep it open here. But I'm going to go over a question that I got from one of our registrants ahead of time. And obviously I'm going to keep his name private. But he said, I have an issue with facet syndrome associated with a left L5 facet. I am often quite crooked in the morning. Yoga has helped. Haven't used massage therapy recently due to COVID. Are there any specific exercises or stretches you recommend practicing? Are there movements I should avoid? Okay, so the first part of that was L5 facet syndrome, right? So really what that means is if this has been diagnosed officially, there's a joint on the left lower back where your spine, where the joints of your spine come together on the left side, that joint is hyper irritated. It would be like a knee, a knee arthritis or something like that, being really irritated. So you're quite crooked in the morning, and I would assume that's a lot of guarding to protect that area. Yoga has helped, and I'm sure any movement or strengthening probably would. But are there any specific exercises or stretches you recommend practicing? So this is actually a great question. I appreciate this. So assuming that this L5, this left L5 facet syndrome is happening, the first thing that I would say is we really want to promote what I would say flexion-based strength, or we want to promote front core strength and side core strength, okay? When joints in the spine get irritated, there's a couple reasons, and it can happen again for a number of reasons. One is just being in one position for a long period of time. One is a repetitive type movement. One might be a sleeping posture. But any of these things, again, the muscles around those joints have to be able to do their job efficiently and handle the stresses we're placing on them. When those muscles can't, the stress indirectly falls right back on our joint. So what I would say for the individual that is struggling with this is, first off, the exercises that would really help would be the plank and the side plank, right? When we went to the reinforced stage and I showed you the front plank and the side plank, both of those options are very good because they help us work. And I'm sorry, I'm still on my shared screen here. I'm going to go back for anybody that's interested, back to this this site that you can go to access this offer. But while I'm answering the question, you can look at that. We want to work on flexion and strength of the front muscles and strength of the side muscles to help take stress off of those facet joints, okay? So side planks and front planks are a really good starting point. The other exercise that I would really recommend working on, and again, I'll go back to it. I'll share my screen here, or I'll stop sharing my screen. I'll go back to it. The other ones that are really good are the ones from the back that I was demonstrating. So where we are working from our back, all right, and we're here, and we're working on flexing and only lifting the shoulder blades up. I'll show you from the side. If I'm here, I'm keeping my low back and pelvis in a neutral position, and I'm lifting up, and I'm engaging my front, and I'm taking stress off of those facet joints in the low back, okay? So that's a really, really good exercise to try. The front planks, like we talked about, you know, getting here and tucking that tail under, making sure from a side view, you're here and you're focusing on really tucking the tail under, squeezing the cheeks, and tucking your pelvis up towards your chin. That's good. And then the side planks. Now, if we're a little too irritable with those for the individual that asks a question, you can also work on those open books. Now, what I would do is I would open, it's on the left side, so I would open your left side open, okay? So if it's left low back that's bothering you, I'd work on that open book drill here and open the left side, have your left side on top and open towards the sky. And that'll take some, you know, potential stress off of that facet joint. So those are all some really good options. Now, for the individual that asked that question, what should you avoid? I think in the time being, until you get some of these reloading and reinforcing strategies down, I think you avoid excessive extension, prolonged standing. I wouldn't do a lot of exercises where you're, right now, just for the time being, again, until we can reload, I wouldn't do a lot of things where you're going, you know, from flexed to hyperextended or anything like that rapidly. I think you want to avoid prolonged standing. If you get the ability to prop your foot up on a stool or on a cabinet or a bench or something like that while you're working, I think that's good. But I would just avoid a lot of excessive backward bending just for the time being, back bending, or anything where you're going to be rapidly coming up into extension, okay? And that probably goes for anybody that thinks they're dealing with lower back arthritis, so to speak. Those same rules would apply. All right, so any other questions? Make sure you type into the chat. You can type into the Q&A, or you can type into the chat. But Julie, another individual who we helped, she started with a discovery visit. All right, so Julie was probably a little too modest, did not call herself a high-end competitive athlete. Well, we're all kind of competitive, aren't we? But she loves to push herself and she loves to be competitive. And so we helped her work through some back problems and inflexibility, and now she feels like she can do what she needs to do, all right? Julie is a runner and an avid gym goer, and so knowing Julie, she thrived on that environment, thrived on doing those activities to keep her stress down and to you know, keep her body healthy, and just always a great way to start the day. So why else should you take me up on this offer? All right, besides the savings, individuals, again, we're releasing tension, we're stopping the muscle guarding, we're breaking free from the shackles, and I mean that metaphorically, but honestly, that's what I know feels like for a lot of individuals, the shackles of low back pain, what it prevents you from doing, what it chains you down to. We're going to reinforce and bulletproof your spine so you can get back to what you want to do. The golf, the kids, sleeping comfortably, standing for longer 30 minutes without agonizing back stiffness. We're going to help you with all these things. We're going to transform you into a better version of yourself. So my goal is always, even if you weren't having pain when you first came in here, we're going to help you be better than when you started, right? So it's not just about getting better than when you were in pain. It's about getting you better than before your pain. And there's really, I don't care how old, I don't care what position you're in, you can always get stronger, right? You can always move more efficiently. So we're going to help you feel healthier, feel younger, and move confidently. And again, it's just $500 on us, right? So I genuinely mean that as a thank you. Taking your time tonight. I've gabbed long enough, and I'm serious about helping you. So $500 between the savings, between the massage, between the nutritional consult, and even the discovery visit itself. Another individual, Michael is probably, he's a little bit older than me, but he, avid golfer, busy dad. He had that situation I was talking about. Woke up, lower back spasms, couldn't necessarily figure out why. We did the matrix, right? We went through the plan. We reloaded, or we reboot. We reset. We put the fire out. We worked on some home programming to strengthen things up, and we got him back to doing what he wanted to do. So, do you want to be like Michael, or do you want to stay where you're at? That's a pretty blunt question, but I mean it. We have numerous people that probably were skeptical, probably thought they were stuck, probably thought they didn't have anything left, didn't have any options left other than medication, surgeries, injections, and hopefully most of the time, not always, again, we're not perfect, there's no guarantees, but 8, 9 times out of 10, people rarely do not come out some version of better when they're done. So any other questions? I am free for a minute or two more, but I've taken up plenty of your time. I appreciate, again, you hanging out with me on a beautiful Thursday night. If you have a question about the offer, if you have a question about what we do, if you have a question about your specific situation, now is the time. I'm going to give us another minute or so. Once again, there's the link. I made it an hour and a half, all right? An hour and a half. That's not too bad for me. I appreciate you sticking with me. I had a lot of fun. I spilled water all over the clinic that I'm going to have to mop up, and I'm officially done talking, I think, for the day. But I had a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time. Go to the link, take a look. Again, it's a free discovery visit. There's no obligation beyond that. You do get the savings. You do get the package. If you do get all the stuff we talked about, if you take action and you decide on a plan with us. But at a minimum, all you got to do is learn something, right? See if it's a good fit. See if there's something you can gain. Beyond that, I promise you, we don't pressure you. We don't haggle you. We don't do anything. We just want to give you good information to make the best decision for you. So this is a full plan to transform your situation, move confidently, and to feel young. And with that, I don't see any other questions. So I want to say thank you once again for your time. I want to wish you all the best wishes in with everything that's going on. Stay healthy, stay positive, and best wishes if you are on because you're struggling with specific back issues. I wish you nothing but the best. It's a long road. It's a frustrating road, but I genuinely wish you the best. You can learn more about us at modusrx.com. Anybody that registered and was on, and unfortunately those that missed it or weren't able to catch live, and now you're catching the replay, obviously, we'll follow up with you. And the offer is good for you. If you registered and you get the replay, that offer is good. But it's only right now, right? If you're watching live, it's only right now. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Any other questions? Feel free to reach out to me. I will be emailing you and following up, certainly. So reply to those emails if you want to have a direct conversation. I'm happy to take some time out of my schedule and just talk to you about your individual situation. And I wish everybody nothing but the best. I am going to leave you with my contact info, and I am going to go home and see my kids, hopefully. All right. I appreciate everybody. Have a great night.